Welcome to the latest edition of the LL Basketball Roundtable, brought to you by Student Transportation of America. My name is Mike Gross. To my left, the fully audible Jason Guarente. To my right, we believe fully audible Jeffrey Reinhardt. And we're in a weird spot here. We're in the middle of LL playoff week. And both semifinals are being played Wednesday tonight as we speak. And maybe we can touch briefly on the fact that is true because of the weather postponement of the girls' semifinals yesterday.
Yeah,
Jeffrey.
that was kind of a bummer. Monday afternoon, I was told we are playing on Tuesday, and we knew it was going to snow, and we knew schools were probably going to be canceled, etc. But I think we also knew that the sun was going to come out and everything was going to melt. And you could probably get out and play Tuesday night. It's always a tricky situation with these postponements with the schools. It's up to the superintendent, the principal. You know, if we're not in school, we're not going to play, or we're not going to send buses out.
Yeah, and we're not going to rip ADs, and we're not going to rip the people who run the league because there might be something like that we don't know.
That we don't know.
In fact, there probably is.
Probably was. So Monday we were told we are going to play on Tuesday. We'll make a final call Wednesday morning just to be safe, but we would love to play Tuesday night to keep it on schedule. Tuesday morning, the email comes across, breaking news, no games tonight, sorry. Postponed until Wednesday, which is today as we tape. So they're playing all 4 semifinals tonight.
Jason, do you have any thoughts on this?
Let's just play ball. That's my thought.
The only thing I would say, a couple of things here. Number one, the weather forecast was precisely correct.
Right on.
And you could see that it was going to be correct by late morning on Tuesday. So if they originally thought they were going to play, I don't understand what changed.
Me neither.
I mean, unless there's just one school district. And the other thing is, I've seen a lot of times over the years in postseason basketball where the semifinals and the finals are on back-to-back nights, and that saps a little bit of the energy, a little bit of the edge. It's a little bit. It hurts the quality a little bit, unless I'm just imagining that. But that's how it looks and feels, and I've heard coaches say that over the years.
Plus, no practice time. They're not going to. The girls have the semifinals here on Wednesday night, and they got to turn around and play the championship game on Thursday with no practice time, not a lot of rest. No X and O time. I mean, and that matchup's going to be fantastic, no matter who it is. Lebanon, Columbia, Catholic, Ephrata. You're going to have a monster final on Thursday, and they're not going to have any time to get off their feet, no time to game plan, and X and O.
It's also a little disappointing that the girls and boys play simultaneously.
Yes.
I mean, I'm sure there are people who would like to watch both. I would like to have watched the girls' semifinals, and we can't. And what's also interesting is none of the 4 teams duplicate in the boys and girls.
And that maybe makes it a little bit more defensible that they can play the same night because the fans don't have to choose. But anyway, Jason, let's talk a little bit about the boys semi. Cedar Crest and Central, Penn Manor, Warwick in a doubleheader tonight at Conestoga Valley. And let's talk a little bit about the Comets and just the story of them being at this stage, no matter what happens going forward.
This is their season. This is the year they had the team to win at this level. They've been on the bubble for weeks. Can they get in? Can they get the second seed out of Section 1? They win 2 games on the final day to get in. Then they beat LS in the first round, a quarterfinal round. LS had won 10 of 11 games. Penn Manor now has wins over LS, Warwick, and Cedar Crest, the top 3 section champions.
Wow.
I mean, there's nothing fluky. This is one of the 4 best teams in the league. It's hard to get out of Section 1. That's part of the reason Penn Manor doesn't have a lot of playoff success is they've always been behind McCaskey and Hempfield and all those Section 1 powers. And this was the season they had one of the top 2 teams.
And the best team that they've had in memory probably was with Wally Walker right before the beginning of the Lancaster Lebanon League. Now, you heard Jason correctly when he said they won 2 games in one day. Let's explain that a little bit.
Well, they had the makeup game because of Devin Figueroa's injury, so they had to play what amounted to half a game against Hempfield, which was a must-win to have any chance. And then they had
it was resumed with them having a one-point
lead in the third quarter. They held on to win by 5, and then later that night, They had to play Dallastown, and it was close with the power ratings, but the feeling was if they had lost to Dallastown, they might fall behind Hempfield, which means they would have missed out on both the league and district playoffs, because coincidentally, those teams were also on the last line of the district playoffs.
Yeah, that's right.
Wow.
So basically, one team made both, Penn Manor, and Hempfield missed both, and the season was over.
Oh, wow. Hey, who hit the free throws in the Hempfield game late to ice it?
Devin Figueroa, 10 seconds left. He hits the free throws. He was also great in the quarterfinal, played defense, hit a big three in that game.
Their other kids, other than Ethan Benny, seem like they're just getting experience and getting polished, and it shows.
So he went from hospital bed to
There you go.
being
It's a Cinderella
being a
story.
hero late. That's
Now,
pretty cool.
on the girls' side,
Yes.
I think one thing we want to mention before it recedes into the rearview mirror here is we really did have a tremendous quarterfinal game. It was a tremendous matchup.
Yes.
And then it delivered.
Township Catholic
Yeah.
on Saturday was unbelievable. That lived up to the hype. Great game. Township, no problem. It's so hard to go into Catholic and just compete sometimes. You look up and it's a mercy rule. Township's up 14 in the second quarter, playing great. Catholic's going timeout, and what are we doing? Catholic goes 12-0, cuts it to 2 at half. Great atmosphere, great game. Comes down to the end, tied up late. Catholic gets the last possession. About 30 seconds left. Catholic calls timeout, sets up their plays. Couple passes here and there, killed some clock. Backdoor pass to Riley Kraft. It's a little spinner layup with like 4 seconds left, and Catholic wins 56-54. Unbelievable
Section
game.
1 runner-up against Section 4.
Section 3 champ.
Section 3
Catholic.
champion, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that was the best. All the other quarters were pretty good. There were some competitive games in there, but the Catholic win was just lights out.
Yeah.
Amazing. Wow.
Think about how big that win. Catholic didn't win the league championship last season.
They did not.
And they have a bunch of seniors. So
do.
if they don't come back, they go out with back-to-back years not winning the league championship. So
Yeah.
that's a really gutsy performance.
Yep, and now they get Ephrata again here in the semifinals. Third year in a row they'll play Ephrata, beat them in the quarters last year, beat them in the championship game 2 years ago. So we'll see how that one goes. And Columbia, Lebanon in the other semi is a rematch of last year's championship game.
Yeah,
and that's a
which
war.
Columbia won.
That's going to be an incredible game.
Yeah, there you go. All right, let's do a little bit of a run through of districts because this is the last day. This is when all the power rankings and therefore the brackets and therefore the matchups, etc., are finalized. So let's quickly go through that, Jason.
Class 6A, 2 LL teams. Cedar Crest is in. Penn Manor got in. Cedar Crest plays Wilson at home and at Reading High for Penn Manor. So those are the only 2 6A teams from the LL. Mannheim Central is in at number 5. They play Gettysburg.
This is 5A.
5A. LS is in as number 7. They will probably play Exeter. And Warwick is in at number 9, which means they have to go to Redland in 5A. Warwick lost the last game of the regular season against Mannheim Central, and it dropped them in
hurt 'em a
4
little. Yeah,
spots.
it
And
did.
Wow,
so
really?
now they have a road game, and that's an elimination game. Because if you make the quarterfinals in 5A, you make states. So
Yeah.
it's a big deal to win that first game. 4A, there's Octorara, which is struggling a bit, lost 5 in a row down the stretch. They're the number 4 seed in 4A. Elko has been teetering on the number 10 line for a week. It looks like they're going to stay ahead of Kennard Dale.
Nice.
You want to get in the 4A field because it's wide open. Berks Catholic is the best team, but Berks Catholic is also missing one of its best players.
Yeah.
So that feels like maybe it's not the foregone conclusion that it might have looked like it was. 3A, we have Columbia as the number 2. Columbia gets a bye and then a home game in the semifinals. They win that, they're in states, and they get to go to the district championship game. Most interesting part of 3A, Annville and Peckway were fighting for the last spot.
Ooh.
Peckway swept the season series from Annville, but Annville still finished ahead in the power ratings.
Wow.
And gets the spot at
Wow.
6A.
That's
which
doing
is,
that math, baby.
Yeah,
It's
that's-
decimal point mania.
That's a crusher. And then in 2A, Mennonite has fallen to number 2. Mennonite was number 1 most of the season. So they're behind Halifax. That only matters because they'll have to play Antietam in the semifinals instead of the championship game. That's been the annual championship game recently. You win the semifinals, you're in states, you lose, you go home. And in 1A, Lancaster Country Day is number 2. What's interesting about Country Day is leading scorer Chris Dukes is ineligible for the district playoffs because he transferred from Conestoga Valley. And if you transfer as a junior, you can't play in districts or states. So Country Day will be without one of its best players. Country Day looked like the biggest threat to Linville Hill, which is the number 1 seed, the 2-time defending champion. but obviously it's different when you don't have your number one scorer.
Interesting.
We turn to the Rhines for a
Yes.
similar summary.
Okay, quickly. 6A, 4 in Lebanon, top seed. Cedars,
Yep.
they'll get
They're
the bye,
rolling.
first round.
They are rolling.
Manheim Township's in at 6, Ephrata at 9, Cedar Crest at 12. Looks like the Falcons will exhale and get the 12 seed and be the last team in. If Ephrata wins, they would get Lebanon in the second round. Lebanon has the first round bye on Monday, so look for that matchup. If Ephrata advances, they would get Lebanon next round. I think Township would play Mifflin. Crest, I think, would play Northeastern York. That's a tricky matchup. 5A, 3 teams in. Manheim Central 8, Cocalico 10. LS sneaks in at number 13. I know for sure Central will host the 9, which is Exeter, in the first round. That's interesting. Exeter's tricky. 4A, just one LL in. Northern Lebanon, 3rd seed. I think the Vikes get Trinity in the first round. That's an interesting matchup. Shamrocks going to Fredericksburg. 3A, LL gobbled up the top 3 seeds. Lancaster Catholic 1, Columbia 2, Pequay Valley 3. Catholic and Columbia get byes. If Pequay Valley wins its first round game, it would get Columbia in the semifinals. So we could see yet another Pequay Valley Columbia matchup late next week. 2A, here you go. 2 versus 3. 2 is Lancaster Mennonite. 3 is Lancaster Country Day. Section 4 rivals. Country Day swept the season series 2-0. Got the 3 seed. Mennonite made the finals last year. They're the 2 and get the home game. Winner of that game goes to the championship at the Giants Center and makes states. Loser's done. So I think that's next Thursday. Single A, bunch of Lancaster County teams. Linville Hill Christian, number 1. Lancaster County Christian, number 2. Back-to-back reigning champ Mount Calvary, number 3. Veritas Academy, number 5. And Our Lady of the Cross, Patty Hauer. Looks like they're going to sneak in their first year as a PIAA eligible program at number 10. That'll be great. Also want to mention Jason and I Saturday will be at Lancaster Bible College for the CCAC championship games. That should be a lot of fun.
Okay, we hope we have oriented you as well as possible, given the timing of this. LL semis tonight, Wednesday. LL finals coming Thursday and Friday. Districts coming next week. Hoops all over the place. You have been listening to the LL Basketball Roundtable, brought to you by Student Transportation of America. Mike Gross for Jason Guarente, for Jeffrey Reinhardt, and we'll see you later.